Hi, I'm Tom McGarry with Connecticut Arts. Welcome to our neighborhood talk about hiking safety and preparedness. With me today are co-host Diane McGarry, Dr. Olivera Bogunovic, who is the Medical Director of Ambulatory Services, Associate Program Director, Partners Addiction Psychiatry Fellowship, Assistant Professor of Psychiatry at Harvard Medical School, and Division of Alcohol, Drugs, and Addiction at McLean Hospital. Also with us, Lynn Swezey, a dedicated community advocate in New England, actively volunteering and professionally specializing in marketing and event coordination. She currently serves as the Secretary of the Board of Hiking Buddies, a 501c3 nonprofit in New Hampshire, whose mission is to prevent avoidable tragedies through education, impactful projects, and fostering a community of support. She also volunteers with 48 Peaks for the longest day through the Alzheimer's Association. Lynn has been an avid hiker for her entire life, concentrating on backpacking and education in the last 3 years. Lynn, a wilderness first responder and proud veteran of the CT Army National Guard, earned her BA in psychology from the University of Connecticut, Yukon, in 2002. Besides her marketing roles, she is also a freelance photographer, focusing her efforts on the outdoor industry. Lynn was raised in New England and resides in Connecticut with her 18-year-old son, Colin, who is an aspiring residential carpenter. In the tapestry of her leisure, she enjoys backpacking, kayaking, video production, podcasting, and rock climbing. We are also joined by Ty Gagne, who is our January 2024 author, and he knows a lot about hiking, risk, and risk management. So welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Our ASL interpreter today is Gay. We'd like to express our extreme sympathy and compassion for the death of your daughter, Olivera. Emily M. Sotelo Safety and Persistence Charitable Foundation is a wonderful way to honor her and keep her memory alive.
Thanks. And I also want to express thanks to the hiking community and the community at large that was really helpful in the moments after the tragedy.
Thank you. And perhaps you can...
For those of us who don't know what happened to your daughter.
Yes, if you don't mind.
Sharing some of the story.
So she was on a college break for the Thanksgiving, and as driven as she was, she came home and wanted to complete her 48 peaks. At that point, I didn't even know that she was pursuing the 40. I had no idea about the mountains in New Hampshire, nor I didn't know about the 48 peaks. She picked up hiking during her senior year of high school and really went on a handful of times, only 8 times during the summer. So I had no clue what she was doing. I think she was doing something for fun and she wanted to pursue it. So I was really first time previewed that she was completing the 48 peaks.
Wow.
That was what she wanted to do. This is what she wanted to accomplish for her birthday. So I decided to honor her request, and so we decided to spend the week in New Hampshire. She came on a Friday. She was a student in Vanderbilt, and I think that also there was a acclimatization to the weather in New England. So I don't really think, like looking backwards, that she understood the cold perspective of it, as she was in a warmer climate. She came in, she had her plan as she was driven and organized. It was hiking Sunday through Wednesday with the idea to get me to hike on the Wednesday. Although she knew that I had no idea about hiking and was not an avid hiker at all, not an outdoors person. She actually gave me a full list of equipment that I should buy. That included things. So we came on a Saturday. I asked her specifically, do you know anything about hiking at this season? She said, as a 20-year-old, like not to ask her those things. And, this was this kind of kid who was very driven, high achiever. So I could really never stop her. She was, she would say, you never discipline me. I said, I couldn't discipline you because you discipline yourself. But I think that there was some hesitation in that thing, because later on that evening she asked me about that. She definitely knew about the essentials that are the 10 essentials, because in the summer prior to the event, she actually sent me a list of what she was purchasing at Walmart for her hiking expedition. She was doing the Presidential Traverse. So I said, "Are you camping there when you're buying all those things?" She says, "No, you move through different weather.
Sure.
So that's why you need it." So I didn't really make much out of it. So so the night before, she realized she didn't have a headlamp, but she did not want to alter the plan, which was a big thing. She still wanted to pursue to go hiking that day. And we discussed a little bit about the weather. I said, "Are you aware it's cold?" And she says, "Yes, but the next day is colder," or something to that effect. So it was not clear which weather forecasts she checked at that point. I knew about the upper summit, but I didn't bother, because she would always check for herself. I trusted the 20-year-old.
So far you can go as a mother when your kid is launching into adulthood.
Yes. So that's, you have to kind of balance the risk and everything. So that morning she woke up, and what was very interesting, she was taking her driver's license. I'm like, "What the hell are you taking your driver's license for?" I did not know that part of the kind of hikers do take their driver's license for whatever reasons. And she says, "That's really kind of to prevent, if a hypothermia occurs on the mountain, you have to have it." So she was also a trained EMT, worked as an EMT actually. During her college, and on summer break, she actually worked at the fire station in Boylston. So she knew the signs and symptoms of hypothermia, definitely. But I think what is also very important is she did not appreciate or know what is the mountain in the winter. We would go during winter breaks a week here and there skiing, and she has never experienced the cold, or basically the altitude was not that high when she was going. So there would be wind chill, but there was never a snowstorm that occurred. So I think all the knowledge she had was really theoretical. And I think that is really the danger. What I have learned building the website for the foundation is really the recounting the experiences of other people. And in fact, I read both of the books of Ty Gagne to learn myself and to understand the hiking community and that desire and what happens up on the mountain. And I think one of the things is you try to educate people, but I think the experience, what I think is also could be valuable, and what we're really thinking on is really putting some of the YouTube videos as to what really happens when the weather changes on the mountain. I think one thing is when you experience the weather change, and one thing is when you hear about it, but just seeing the winds and what happens during that experience is something that is a little bit more powerful. So those are some of kind of the really importances, because I think people can learn about the signs and symptoms of hypothermia. In fact, I once was skiing, and it was raining, so the jacket was not rainproof. And the skiing instructor was insisting that we go back and that, I get a jacket. And I was like, "No, I paid for it. I'm going to do it. And I'm not going back." Well, as soon as, so he's like, "Well, I'm the leader here." Whereas also kind of an important thing what Ty Gagne was saying is there always has to be a leader, a senior leader in the group that makes the decisions. We went down the hill, and that's when I started uncontrollably shivering. So I firsthand experienced a mild hypothermia. And I think, as I said, if that is something that I'm considering, working, and as I've been thinking of ways to educate folks from Massachusetts, because as I like to point out, folks in New Hampshire are very savvy about the nature. They know it all.
Well, they've lived it.
They lived that experience. It's really how to bring that lived experience closer to the folks. in the states like Massachusetts and New York that are coming and wanting to learn to hike, but really not understanding the dangers of hiking.
Mm.
And I think
I
that
really
they need to
like
really-
how you put it here, the pillars of hiking preparedness, right? The conditions, the coverage, the course, the compass, a crew, and crisis and emergency pack. That's,
yes.
you
Well,
know,
that's the must to know, but I think what I was thinking as time is progressing is really adding the videos of really the experiences of what really happens on that mountain. In fact, there was a hiker from Andover, Massachusetts, that died in June of 2022. There was a sudden change in weather, and there was a small video clip where I found the search and rescue team who came up to do the rescue. And if you see those winds and what they were experiencing, it kind of brings it closer, because all of this is, we all think it's not going to happen to us. It's going to be short-lived. I think that was probably also Emily's thinking, oh, it's not that bad. Like, I was shivering and I can run through it and I'll come back. But I think understanding more like that visual effect is also an extremely important piece of information that I am thinking of,
Sure, that's what happened when they took Ty's story and made it into a movie. People could actually see that.
Yes. And I think, just even that movie, just even clips, so people really understand what does that change of weather in the mountain mean, and how to prepare. I think we live in a time of electronics. We live in a time that everything is possible solo. But we have to really remember the time I grew up where I had to learn to use a compass. And it's not just like a one-time thing. It's like you have to practice to know what you're doing. Sure. And kind of bringing it back for people who really want to go back to the nature and experience the beauty, what the nature gives, because I do think there is a sense of accomplishment when you're on top of that mountain. We mentioned it, it's really a metaphor, for what we accomplish, and when somebody goes and is able to be on top of that peak. So I think just bringing more the awareness, especially bringing the awareness, as I said, to a generation that is still in developing and thinks that they can do it all, is a very important thing.
Well, I still, on some levels, think I can still do it all, but I taper that with like, well, I'm almost 70 now, so not everything. Lynn, you're a rescue person. What is that like for you? How did you become a first responder?
Well, my experience is only in learning so far. I guess thankfully haven't had to apply that knowledge yet, but I'll keep it up, and I will restore my certification when it comes up in May, and just have that information for myself, my buddies, self-rescue. But like I said, so far, didn't have to apply it yet.
Do you feel like that expanded your capacity to feel confident in making decisions when you're out in the woods?
Absolutely. As someone who started their backpacking journey, diving in head first with friends who knew what they were doing, learning comes in many different ways. And so I learn best by doing and by seeing. There's an old adage, it says, see one, do one, teach one. I think Olivera, you can probably relate to that. And so for me, that's the way that I like to learn.
And I think that's a very important thing. Do one, see one, because as I said, I think many people who come from different areas don't know about hiking. And, I just really thought, even after Emily's death, oh, what's the big deal to climb the mountain? You just kind of go up there, you have the gear, you have the hiking shoes, and there you go. And I had, as we were preparing for the fundraising hike, people were saying, oh, you have to practice, get fit, that all entered in one ear and went out the other, because I just said, okay, I'll do it. I don't have time. I'll just, manage to do it that day. And when I went to Monadnock on the first training experience, and when I saw the firsthand what actually are the mountains of New Hampshire. Because as I said, I did, a couple of hikes in New Mexico, paved trails. It was like so easy, like coffee on the way you buy, coffee shops. So I really did not appreciate. So as I was doing it, I really saw what it is all about and what, inner experience, how it's really good for your mental health, inner experience, just a sense of accomplishment. But you really have to learn it, do it, and know what it's all about. I think at that point, that was the first time I said, oh my God, this is really nature, and you can't really rescue yourself because you're there 2 hours, 3 hours in. And you have to rely on your knowledge. It was kind of the first time I saw what it's all about, and I think a lot of people have no idea about it, and
it also changes depending upon your environment, right? Because if you're in Boston and you go for long hikes or even climbing in the little blue mountains around the city, that's very different from going up to the Whites and even the Green Mountains. There's also, we've been to Texas, and when you go hiking down there, the difficulties and the issues are very different. So knowing your terrain, knowing what you're going to run into and adapting for that is very important. It's hard to remember that geography is just local.
Geography is local, and we are all learning, and we have the wonderful opportunity that we still have an untouched nature where we can really learn and enjoy. And I think just spreading the education about it, that yes, you can do it if you're careful. I do think having a buddy is good, but I think one of the buddies has to be a leader. You have to trust the leader.
And you kind of made the point earlier that even if you know what hypothermia is and how to recognize the symptoms, when you're experiencing it yourself, it changes your mental ability. So you don't really register how serious it can be.
No, I mean, this was firsthand, I really she was maybe a trainee MT, and you could say, well, she never saw it and did it. I was a physician, and I still did not have any clue about where it's going to land and how severe. I just thought, oh, I can do it. I'll just soldier through it,
That actually reminds me of when I had a concussion. I've actually gotten 2, is it, Tom, in the last?
I think 2, yeah.
4 years. And the first time I fell, I was with one of my dear friends who is a first responder, and I've had wilderness training too. So we were like, okay, none of the symptoms, none of these things happened. I talked fine. My eyes were open. Everything was fine. I never lost consciousness, blah, blah, blah. But a week and a half later, I said, I'm not comfortable driving. There's something wrong with me. I didn't even realize it. And I had a mild concussion, and it happened a few years later. And you can't always see these things, not only on the outside, but you can't see them always on the inside either. And we forget that we don't always have an awareness of what's wrong.
Yeah, and I think that, and we don't have the awareness of the seriousness. I think we're lucky that all over the country we have search and rescue teams, especially the volunteers who selflessly give their time and effort. And I think just even understanding the dangers that they're also, because you just, as I said, having an appreciation of the dangers is very important.
Yeah. Lynn, I love the hiking buddies being committed to reducing avoidable tragedies. I love that because there's so many avoidable tragedies that, if we knew we could avoid them, we obviously would.
That's right. It's hard to know what you don't know. And so we're hoping to reach those people, and by whatever means necessary, through virtual programming, through our partnership with Red Line Guiding. We're offering scholarships to young people. So a person the age of 17 to 25 would be able to attend hiking safety courses for free, again, through our partners at Red Line Guiding. And adult classes are at a generously reduced rate. They involve 2 days worth of learning anything from hiking craft, safe water crossing, If it's winter, you're looking at ice axe technique, for instance. And so you're learning on that first day, doing some application, and then on the second day, you're taking a hike to go out and apply those skills. So I think it's a very comprehensive program, and we're looking forward to reaching out to the people who may not otherwise reach into us. And so, that happens through partnerships, relationships in the community, word of mouth, showing what we're doing, talking about the good and the bad. When we're posting our hikes and talking to our friends, it's important to highlight the things that you learned along the way as well.
Yeah. So people, if they're interested, should go to hikingbuddies.org to look up what you're doing.
Yes, that's right. You can go to the tab that says Buddy Certifications and learn all about it. And then you can explore the other tabs, which offer different resources, community projects, events, things like that.
Cool.
That's neat. That's neat. It is really important, because if we don't allow ourselves to learn new skills, we're just stuck in the same place, treading water, which is not very helpful. Here we go.
That's right. Learning at all times, learning at all ages, and from all different types of people. We were talking this weekend with some hiking buddies. We said, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Put yourself around people who have different and larger experiences than yourself, and always be willing to learn from them.
So it sounds like your program does the see one, do one parts of what Olivera described earlier. That's a common, I guess, paradigm.
Yeah.
That's right. And then go teach your buddies.
Do you know if the students who've gone through your program also go on to teach others, or at least partly teach others?
Well, we've gone through one round, so that would include the young folks 17 to 25 and a class of adults. And we do see them talking about it online. We have,
cool.
The Facebook group, Hiking Buddies, New Hampshire 48. So you see them talking about their experiences, and it's as simple as others reading the comments and expanding on them or asking questions. If you can reach one person with one fact, that might make the difference. And in fact, I'm sure that it has.
Cool. Wow.
Yeah. I'm very much into learning by doing too, which is what your program is doing. Teaching.
Absolutely. Yeah. To Olivera's point, until you really experience it, it's easy to look at the pictures and see some of the folks who do have high levels of experience doing what they do. And it's easy to think, hey, I can do that as well. But really what you want to do is taper up when it comes to experiencing some of the more difficult hikes out there. Go ahead and start with a smaller hike with a group of people that you trust. And to Ty's point, it's very important to have the right team on your side, to have the right companions along on your hike, to have a leader who can make those spur of the moment decisions. And those decisions can be hard when you're in that frame of mind. So you need someone who can separate themselves and a leader who can guide the team.
Hi, you want to talk about that a little bit on this program? You did during your interview, but it'd be really nice if you could expand on what Lynn's been saying.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Lynn is saying. And I think the one thing I want to stress is that, as she mentioned, learning doesn't stop. I'm in agreement. I refer to it as starting low and slow. You can get a winter experience at 500 feet, at 1,000 feet. You don't have to go right to 4,000 or 5,000. And it's just really taking time to progress into that fourth season. But I also think it's really important around self-awareness, and I think what Hiking Buddies is stressing, and with the certifications, is that it's just part of an ongoing learning process, and backcountry experiences do not necessarily translate into having backcountry experience. And so have those experiences, learn from them, reflect on them, align yourself with a mentor or a guiding service, much like what Hiking Buddies is partnering with, and just recognizing that just because I got a certification does not now qualify me to go out there on my own and tear off a 4,000 or 5,000 foot peak. That progression is really, really important, and being honest with yourself about where your abilities and capabilities are in relation to what it is that you are trying to go out and do.
Wow.
That's right. I think it's really important to understand your strengths and your weaknesses, and also to be able to express that to your team when you start hiking. If you have something that you're unsure of, transparency is really important when you're with a team.
And that sounds like a really good place to pull this all together and stop. Thank you very much for joining us, Olivera, Lynn, and Ty. We hope the resources you've gathered and put out there for folks really do help keep them safe on their many adventures. We'd also like to thank our very many sponsors shown here for making this program possible. Please tell them thank you. To become a sponsor or receive more information about our Arts Saturdays, neighborhood talks, and other programs, please email us at drakeitearts@gmail.com or visit our website, drakeitearts.com. This and all our programs are archived on the Drake It Arts YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@drakeitearts. Thank you for joining us.